in nature, organic matter cycles through your ecosystem. So in places like rainforests, the reason those things can keep going is because organic matter cycles through. So you get plant matter, so leaves, branches falling off, breaking down, and those nutrients are then cycled back through by microorganisms and macroorganisms or larger organisms. You also get animal manures and animal waste um, going back into the system as well and cycling through. So in a natural ecosystem, those things occur without the need for any input. In your vegetable garden, you don't have those same processes taking place, so it's important you add your own organic matter. So I'm going to show you 4 simple ways that you can improve your soil organically to improve your crop production and to boost the life in your garden. So the first method we're going to look at in improving your soil is to add manures to your soil. Now these can either be put on top as a compost, or they can be spread on top, forked through, or turned into your soil. So we've got 2 different versions here. We use some horse manure that we picked up from the side of the road. This is stable horse manure. The benefit of stable horse manure is there's generally less seeds in the stable horse manure than there is in the manure just collected from paddocks. Cow manure tends to break down, tends to be more broken down. There's less seeds in cow manure, but horse manure is easy to access for us. It's bagged up on the side of the road. The stuff that's bagged up on the side of the road is normally teeming with life. So all the microorganisms in that, breaking that down as it goes, will be transferred directly to your soil to help your soil system. As you put that one on, it's cheap, but you can get weeds for that one. This one here, a little bit more expensive, so the commercial grade stuff. This is completely sterilized when they bag it up, so there is less microorganisms in this one, but it will provide your nutrients to your soil as you go. So that is your commercial grade manures. Different manures will offer different inputs to your soil. These ones here are both high in nitrogen and are both handy inputs to get you started. So that's your first method of improving your soil organically. So this is the second set of amendments we've made to the soil. So previously we've put mulch on the garden in the form of sugarcane mulch. Normally you'd run this about 40 to 50 mils thick, thin layering over the top of the soil, and the benefit of adding some sugarcane mulch is this will sit on top, it will lock in moisture to your soil, so as it starts to rain it'll absorb moisture and hold it, and then any moisture underneath the soil it will keep that in as well. So that's your sugarcane mulch. As it breaks down over time, those nutrients will be released into the soil as well. So that's your mulch, sugarcane mulch. On top here at the moment, we've got a little bit of a mix. So we've added a little layer of hoof-lung dung over the top, which is just another mulch. It's considered a super mulch, or they call it a super mulch. All it is the same sort of thing. It's just got a mixture of those sugarcane mulch fines in there, some pine bark in there as well, and this one's enriched with chook poo, so it sits on top, and as you water, those nutrients will wash down into the soil or leach down into the soil slowly. The benefit of these organic mulches is they're almost like a slow release fertilizer as they break down. With any of this organic matter, whether it's sitting on the top or whether it's forked through, it will also be beneficial in that you'll get earthworms come into the soil and start to break this stuff down as well and spread their castings and nutrients into the soil. So your second method, mulching, sugarcane mulch, or some commercial grade mulches. Doesn't matter if it's a commercially packed variety of sugarcane mulch or whether it's just picked up from a sugarcane farm like some of the ones that we have around our area. But that's your second method, mulching with an organic mulch. Okay, our third method of improving your soil organically is to compost in situ. So this is a compost tube. It's 150 mils wide. It's a plastic plumbing pipe. All we've done, we've got a section about 50 mils long. We've buried it in the soil, and we're just adding our compost in. Before we buried it, we've drilled holes all around the edges. We originally set it up as a worm tube for worms to come in, feed on the compost we'd put in, and then take the castings back out in all directions into the soil and improve the soil around it. Research has shown that the earthworms that move through these tubes tend not to travel too far from them. So we're basically using it as a compost tube. We put our compost in, the same sort of ratio that you normally would in compost. And we've just got to make sure we've got a good healthy balance of your green waste and your brown waste, or your nitrogenous waste and your carbon waste in there, and that will break down over time. And all we do when we are changing our crops over, we will pull this tube out, dig it in somewhere else, and so we're basically putting that compost in this particular position. So it will gradually leach out as we go, but then it will just form a bed of compost once it's removed. So that's composting in situ. The next method that we use is our large compost bin. So this compost bin sits in a garden away from our vegetable gardens, and we'll just do all of our regulation composting in this one spot. In the spot that it sits, this one here is directly under our mulberry tree, and so under our mulberry tree, it feeds the mulberry tree quite well. It also, once it's broken down and once it starts to compost down, we will shovel that out and then shovel that back into our garden. So your compost bin is your fourth way of organically improving your garden. So green manures are another way to improve your garden soil. You're not going to see too much here, but yesterday we sprinkled some mustard greens just in this garden bed here. This was a heavily used bed loaded up with tomatoes. So once that tomato crop was pulled, we've sprinkled in some of those mustard green seeds as well. And as they come up, we've got the opportunity to chow down on some of those spicy leaves, or just to dig those back into the soil. So that's another way that you can improve your soil's organic matter and improve the health of your garden.